Now, if you were with us a few years ago, we used to have once a month our Bible. What did we call the Bible Project Cafe? Bible Cafe. I can't remember what we called it now. Cafe Church. Thanks, Joe. And we haven't done that for a little while, but we're returning to this format for the Sundays during January. And there's a number of reasons why we're doing this. One is there's going to be folks, away one week, coming back the next. So this series is, it doesn't flow from one to the other in that way as going through a series or Book of James like we've just been doing. Also, we just wanted to provide a space where the kids feel really welcome and they can join in and enjoy with us, because during January we don't have kids' church or youth on. So kids, we hope you feel really welcome. We've got some, Joe's put together some wonderful packs which we'll introduce you to shortly for you to colour in and participate as well this morning. We also wanted to build opportunity for connection and prayer during January. We know lots of folks go away, some folks are off work, there's a lot of change, we thought it was really great to be able to build this sense of community and connection and discussion. And each week we're going to be providing a space at the end of our discussion for prayer, so everybody leaves on a Sunday in January having been prayed for by someone else. And we just thought that would be a wonderful time and a way to start the year really well. So what we're going to do, and a big shout out really to our friends, they don't know us, but we are their friends, at the Bible Project for their wonderful work in bringing such a vast community around the whole globe into more deeper understanding and a visual connection with the Word of God. Now, if you're looking for a new app this year, this morning they've released, I think it was yesterday probably in the States, but for us this morning, you can go to your app store and you can download the Bible Project app, which gives you a much easier access to the Bible Project material than going onto the website. There's reading programs, going a bit more in depth. All of the video content and everything, podcasts, everything that we normally love at Bible Project is on their app. So we're going to be walking through their visual commentary series on creation throughout January. And we're going to be looking at who God is and who we are. It's a question of identity. And we're going to be walking through a number of Psalms, Proverbs, and other sections of Scripture. Today we're going to be looking at Genesis 1. That's going to be our video today. So what we'll do is we're going to kick off with the Bible Project. Oh, thank you, Jonathan. I've got the clicker in my pocket, but I forgot it. With the Bible Project's video on Genesis 1. And then what we'll do is I'll just gather some thoughts and put forward some questions for discussion in your group. And we'll walk through what those are. And then we'll have a break where we can go and help ourselves to one of the plates at the back there, bring it back for our group, and help yourselves to a tea and coffee. And then we're going to spend some time just having a discussion around those questions. And then we'll finish up with the prayer, which I'll pop up on the screen as well for us. So thank you, Jonathan. If we could start the video right now, everybody, make yourselves comfortable.
The first book in the Bible is called Genesis.
And we're going to look closely at the first page of the book of Genesis. It's a carefully crafted narrative about God creating and ordering the whole cosmos.
Okay, let's check it out. Now, the opening line of the whole Bible is, "In the beginning, God created the skies and the land."
Now, your Bible translation might say the heavens and the earth. In biblical Hebrew, the word for heaven refers simply to the sky above. And the word for earth does not mean globe, but rather the land.
The ground below us.
Right. This line is summarizing what's going to happen in the following narrative, which starts in the next line.
And it reads, "Now the land was wild and waste."
This phrase rhymes in Hebrew. The land was tohu vavohu, which means unordered and uninhabited. This is the ancient way of talking about the pre-creation state, what we might call nothingness. For the biblical authors, non-existence means having no purpose and no order. And the next line uses another image to say the same thing.
And darkness was on the face of the deep abyss. What's the deep abyss?
Yeah, it's a dark, chaotic ocean. It's another common way the ancients described the non-reality that preceded creation. Now, here's where things start to get interesting, because in the midst of those dark waters, God is present.
And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters.
The Hebrew word for God's Spirit is ruach, which can refer to wind or breath or God's invisible presence.
So you can't see it, but God is present in the darkness, ready to bring order so that life can flourish.
Yes, and this ordering happens in a series of 6 days.
Each day begins with the phrase, "And God said," and then ends with the phrase, "And there was evening and morning."
Yeah, every day addresses those problems introduced in verse 2, that there's no order and no inhabitants. So on days 1 through 3, God splits apart that unordered darkness into 3 ordered realms. Then, on days 4 through 6, God fills the uninhabited wasteland with creatures.
Interesting. Let's see how that works.
Okay, so the first realm of order begins with light on day 1.
Ah, yes. Let there be light.
This is God's own glorious light that fills and contains the darkness as he separates day from night. God's establishing the order of time.
Okay, and then on day 2, let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. What's the vault?
In the ancient culture of the biblical authors, the sky was perceived as a solid dome that holds back waters. God's depicted here as splitting the chaos waters in half, above and below, which creates the realms of the sky and the seas.
And then on day 3, let the waters under the sky be gathered into one place and let dry ground appear.
God is establishing the realm of the land, and it emerges out of the chaotic waters. And then there's a bonus creative act on day 3. God invites plants and fruit trees with seed to emerge out of the land.
Okay, so we've got the realms of time, the realm of the sky and the seas, and the land. And they all have order.
Right. Now, it's time to go back and fill these realms of days 1 through 3 with inhabitants. This is what happens on days 4 through 6.
So in day 4, let there be lights in the vaults of the sky.
God installs these lights, the sun, moon, and stars, as signs and symbols that reflect God's own light. He gives them his own royal power to separate day and night.
Then on day 5, let the waters swarm with living creatures, and let birds fly above the land.
Yeah, these are the creatures that live in the waters below, and those that fly near the waters above.
Then finally on day 6, let the land produce living creatures.
They emerge up out of the ground to live on the land. And then, matching that bonus act of creation on day 3, God makes a special land creature, human, or in Hebrew, Adam. Then, God provides all of those plants from day 3 as abundant food.
Now, over and over, God says what he created was good. But then, after making humans, God says that it is very good.
Yes, humanity is the climax of days 1 through 6, and their importance is explained in the first poem in the Bible.
So God created humanity in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them.
So humans come up from the ground like the other land creatures, but they're also more. They're God's image, which means that together, men and women embody and represent the Creator within his creation.
God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it, ruling over the creatures."
This is the purpose of being God's image, to oversee creation as God's partners and representatives in the world.
Very cool.
Now, after the 6 days, we get a concluding line that links back to the key words of the opening line.
And so were completed the skies and the land and all their inhabitants.
Except there's one more day. It stands outside the pattern of days 1 through 6. It's the big climax.
And God completed on the 7th day the work which he had done. And he rested on the 7th day from all the work which he had done. And God blessed the 7th day and set it apart as holy.
So God rests on the 7th day. This is a standard biblical image where God, after ordering the cosmos, comes to rest and dwell in his sacred space. It's like the whole world is a holy temple where God lives with his people.
Now that phrase, "there was evening and morning," it doesn't appear on day 7.
That's right. The 7th day has no end. That's because Genesis 1 is describing God's ideal vision for the whole cosmos.
A place where God lives with his partners to rule the world in harmony forever.
Yes, the 7th day is the goal of creation. It's actually so important that the author of Genesis 1 has woven the number 7 into every part of the story. There are 7 days of creation, 7 announcements that creation is good. There are 7 Hebrew words in the opening verse, and then 2 times 7 Hebrew words in verse 2. And then the statement about the 7th day has 3 lines of 7 words.
Wow. So the first page in the Bible is doing way more than just telling us how the world was made.
Right. Genesis 1 has been designed to show us that God's purpose is to share creation with his images, so they can rest and rule it with him forever. And that purpose is what the rest of the biblical drama is all about.
So we're going to be asking you a really simple question in a minute. What did you like about the video? And so I just thought I'd quickly share some of my thoughts. I think I can concur with John with his wow. And also I love the way that the video really shows us God's exuberance, his abundance, that he filled the whole earth. We played a game over Christmas which was where you had to listen to a word that you didn't know before and you had to guess which meaning it had. One of our words was, in our team, was uberous, which means it was ultra abundant and full. And I thought we had a little competition, see who could get that one those words they'd learned in their preach first of all. So I've won that little. God's creation is uberous. Isn't that an awesome word? I also love God's passion to bring together life and beauty through both order and creativity. I just really love that. It really spoke to me. It's part of my nature myself. I'm quite a practical person, but I'm also creative. So seeing that God's abundance comes when we team order and creativity together. And that's what he is calling us into, isn't it, as partners with him. I loved one of the comments made there. I can't remember if it was Tim or John, but they said that as God made us and called us to be partners with him, that we embody and represent God throughout creation. I thought that was another stunning line. And it helps us to understand who we are and who God is, or rather who God is and therefore who we are in his creation. He wants to partner with us. And so one of our questions, maybe I can skip on to the questions page. Okay, so what did you like about the video? Since you are made in the image of a creator God, in what ways do you express your creativity? That's our second question this morning. How do you express your creativity? And so what we're getting there at is not, I can paint really well, or I can compose a song or write a poem. But let's think really broad. Those things, of course, come into it. But what other ways can we partner with God and express his creativity in and through us? So think wide. Think about problem solving. Think about your role at work and how you can partner with God in solving complex issues or bringing beauty and order at work. So we'll have a discussion about that. Did you know what the word Eden means? Paradise. It can almost mean that, but the actual word in Hebrew means delight. Isn't that beautiful? Delight. And so the place that God made for us to dwell together with him is a place of delight. And I think as a family, we've been learning over the last decade how we can do that more effectively as a family and as in our walk with Jesus. So we've been learning a new rhythm of Sabbath delight, where we intentionally put a day aside to kind of say no to the mundane, to the chores and the jobs. Do we really have to put the washing on that day? Do we really need to pay bills on that day? And we've set it aside for an opportunity to delight in God, to delight in the world that he's made, to delight in his word, to delight in our family, in having meals, in walking in his creation, taking the dogs out, reading books, and taking a look around us and going, hey, wow, we can see God at work here. This is how he's made me, and this is how I can express that in this day. So we can see God's handiwork at work, and we love that. In the video, John commented that Eden was a place where God lives with his human partners to rule the world together in harmony. I think that's another really amazing image from Genesis 1. And, you know, our lives, they can often be a bit of a grinding whirlwind, can't they? A bit of a one step in front of the other, and then we have to do it again and again and again. But God's intention, and to which we've now been restored in Jesus Christ, is to partner with him in his work of abundance, bringing order and creativity and harmony to the world around us. And so that means that our new creation lives in Jesus are they're not about waiting to go to heaven, waiting to get back to Eden in that way. And whilst we're at it, trying to be as good as we can. That's not what it's about, is it? But God is looking for us to live out our role as his partners here and now today, where we can be conduits for his love in action all around us, bringing that fruitfulness that we've seen in the video, bringing peace and creative order and salvation to those around us today. And so, as God rested to take delight in creation, this is our third question. How can you set aside time weekly to delight in God and what he has made? So those are the questions that we're going to come into. Now, if you're joining us on live stream, we're going to take a break at this point so that we can go and get some refreshments, and then we're going to gather in our groups to discuss these questions. Just for the sake of our live stream folks, and if you're catching up live or later on, after we've discussed that, I've got to turn this on. John, could you pop through to the next slide? We're going to just do some prayer at the end, so I'll just put this screen up for a few seconds, so you can have a look at that, and then you can pause and go back in the live stream once we've stopped it. So we're going to be praying at the end. We'll be praying that God will release a blessing of creativity in us, so we can see his creativity in our lives. So that's where we're going to get to later on. But Jonathan, you can go back to the small group questions now. So, folks, if you would like to go and help yourselves or maybe perhaps, we've already got some goodies on the tables. That happened when I wasn't looking. Awesome. If you want to grab a hot drink at the back, mums and dads and grown-ups, you can go and help yourself to those now, and then we'll have a time of discussion. So if you're joining us on live stream, it's been lovely to have you with us this morning. I think we're going to draw that to a close now, but every blessing on you as you continue to discuss these questions at home in your family, and then hopefully come together for a time of prayer at the end. Bless you guys. Thanks, everyone.